afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our last session today of TCCA 2020. My name is Kelly Smith. I am a digital learning specialist at Aldine ISD, and I will be your host for today's session. Just a couple of quick reminders. If you have any questions or comments, please post them in the chat on the right. And our amazing co-host, Brooke Martin, a CTE program director here in Aldine, will man those questions or man the chat and find your questions for our amazing presenter this afternoon. Also, please remember you're getting emails all day long after each session for your certificates, and I will give you the super secret password of this session at the end of the presentation. Okay. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our presenter, which is Dr. Marcie Strahan. She is a principal in Aldine ISD. So take it away, Dr. Strahan.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, especially the last session. I have peeked outside a little bit today, so I know it's a beautiful day and you could be anywhere else other than right here with me. But I do appreciate you being here. Today, for just a little while, I'd like to talk about how we create a restorative campus environment at Hall Success Academy here in Aldine Independent School District. So just quick introduction. Well, just to let you know who I am Dr. Marcie Strahan, and I have the honor of being the proud principal of Hall Success Academy, which is an alternative school of choice in Aldine. And so I have my contact information there. That's just my email, Twitter for both myself and the campus. And I'll also share that at the end of the presentation, should you have questions or want to do some more one-on-one. So just a quick check-in real quick, and we can get our little chat box working. How are you feeling today? Which one of these emojis best describes your current mood? And just pop that number into the chat box. Uh-oh. Just a quick check-in. How are you feeling? I am several of these all at the same time. It has always been a goal of mine to present at the TCCA conference, and nobody knows this. I see I have staff members on the call today, but they won't believe that I'm very much a shy, quiet person. So just to put myself out here to talk about the great things that we do at Hall is not something that I would ever truly imagine myself doing, but it's always been a goal to present at the TCCA conference. And so I'm very excited to be able to share with you on today. So my emojis would be number 8 because I'm here, I'm alive, well, healthy. Not quite 10, 5 because I have just completed my studies for dissertation. So it's just a lot of things going on, but this is just a quick check-in to get us started. So just to introduce myself to you so you will know who I am. I already said, as far as being principal of Hall Success Academy, but I have been an educator for 26 years. I started off as a special education teacher and then coached volleyball, basketball, and track before becoming a counselor and then moving into administration. I'm one of those people who tried not to follow in my mother's footsteps, and that's her on the picture that you see on the screen, who is a lifelong educator. I tried my very best not to follow in her footsteps, and I thought I was going to do something great and wonderful, like be a physical therapist assistant. Never knew anyone in that profession, didn't know what really to do, got a whole degree in it, and became a school counselor. So here we are now going into the administration route. So I guess that's the one thing that I did a little different than her journey. I'm very passionate about developing positive, meaningful, and genuine relationships with students. Our kids know, so you definitely can't fake a relationship. You have to speak to them, love them, reach out to them from your whole heart, and they can tell if you're not being genuine. So that's definitely one of those things that I strive to do each and every day. And then just to share how just restorative and this whole world of SEL and all that became my passion. My dissertation topic was perceptions of secondary school administrators regarding the implementation of restorative practices. I won't go all the way into that journey, but I will say that that journey was birthed for 2 reasons. Number one, I was always told, whatever you choose for your dissertation topic, make sure it's something that you love. So restorative practices, SEL, all of that is all me. I eat, drink, sleep it, I love SEL. So that was the easy one. And then the second one, I'm extremely nosy. So we were chosen to be one of 11 campuses to participate in an initiative from the Harris County Department of Ed in combination with the district. And I wanted to see how other administrators were rolling out restorative practices on their campuses. So what better way than to include them into my studies that I participated in. So that is me, just in a nutshell. So just to tell you a little bit more about Hall Success Academy, if you are joining us from outside of the district, we are, like I mentioned before, an alternative school of choice. We currently have 181 students enrolled. We serve students from 8th grade, over age 8th graders, through the 12th grade. The 8th grade component is new for us this year, but we have just embraced our 8th graders that we have on campus. We love them. They give us so much joy. There's so much they're a pleasure to be around. And I've been told that I'm probably one of the only people on this earth that believes that middle school students are cute, but ours are definitely cute and full of personality. So I just love them. We have one assistant principal, one counselor, one intervention specialist. We have about 26 instructional units. But then just so you'll know our population, 75% mobility rate and 84.5% economically disadvantaged. So that's just how, just a little bit more about Hall Success Academy, so you'll know who we serve, and especially when you start seeing our pictures and things of what we do on campus, you'll see why it's so very important that we make sure we embrace our students. So the objectives for today, you can't have a session without objectives, right? And you can't be an Aldine without doing a KUB objective. So our participants today will know how to implement restorative practices to support staff and students, and its impact, how it impacts the campus culture. Will understand the benefits of creating a restorative environment on their campuses, and finally be able to gather ideas and strategies for building connections between staff and students, as well as celebrate success. So this quote is just the basis of my beliefs and my beliefs on how students learn and how we can best serve them. And it simply says, when a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. So this just kind of goes into the journey of becoming a restorative campus. And so the successful implementation of restorative practices, it's not a simple task. I will not go and say that, when you bring this idea to your staff, your campus, everyone is going to fall in love with it. They're going to believe in it, because that's absolutely not the truth. It requires a complete paradigm shift, if you will. And it encourages schools to focus on the relationships rather than the rules. And for some of us, and some of us that have been in education for quite a while, especially when you start talking about an alternative school or an alternative school of choice, which is our campus. And I always put a handle on that. We are an alternative school of choice. So that doesn't mean we're a disciplinary campus. We have a campus that our students go to, if they're involved in fight, drugs, alcohol, things like that. There's another campus for that. We're just a smaller campus, smaller environment. So I like to say that our students come to us, they need fewer distractions. So if you think about the traditional high school, the size is just tremendous. If they're not participating in athletics, band, things of that nature, they just want to come take care of their business as far as getting out of school and move on from high school, then that's why they come to Hall. So again, you're thinking about that. You're thinking about a paradigm shift and rules and discipline, and we look at it a little bit differently. And so that was just the beginning of our shift into restorative practices. Once the actual shift does occur, schools are able to see the benefits and the positive impact that it brings when you're using restorative practices. So this next slide, just kind of only little piece about my dissertation that I will share. As I was going through and preparing and doing my studying, reviewing articles, things of that nature, these are the topics that kept emerging. So it's, of course, restorative practices, leadership, school culture and climate, social emotional learning, and culturally responsive restorative justice practices. These are the items that I kept focusing on. So restorative practice, I just mentioned all that, I'm sorry. So in this presentation, you will have an opportunity to see some of the practices that we're utilizing at Hall Success Academy. And I really did put in a lot. I'm sharing like almost all of our secrets, but it's not quite all of them, believe it or not. And what I want you to do, no matter what your role may be, whether you're an administrator, you're a counselor, you're a member of your culture team or cares team, or just a teacher, just think of how you can use some of these practices to enhance your campus, your classroom environment, and whatever you need. I am not the creator of these things. I love Twitter. You just have to follow the right people on Twitter. So some of these things I've seen from classmates of mine or just other people on Twitter, and I've adopted them and we use them at Hall. So right before we go into, I have different topics that we'll talk about, but I want to make sure everyone knows what exactly is restorative practices, and why it's important that we look at it. So zero tolerance policies, which deliver harsh, predetermined punishments, are the root cause of many suspensions and expulsions in schools. This is why we have to look at things differently. It can't just simply be an action. A student does something and we punish them. There's a consequence. We kick them out of school. That's not helping. That's not helping. That's not teaching them the correct behavior. That's not correcting that aspect of it. That's not helping them focus on their academics, because they're not with us. They're not in front of us. If they're at home, this is pre-COVID conversation, but if they're at home, they're not getting the instruction that we offer when they're on campus. So we have to look at things a little differently. And that is why we are using restorative practices at Hall. So restorative justice is deeply rooted in the restoration of social relationships. The implementation of both restorative discipline and restorative practices in schools is a growing alternative approach to traditional punitive methods of discipline, which I just mentioned. The use of restorative practices has been suggested to do several things: improve classroom climates and positively affect student achievement performance, decrease student absenteeism. If you give them a reason to be at school, they're going to come to school. Improve student self-esteem, and improve the psychological and emotional well-being of students. So when we're talking about restorative practices, there's several different aspects of it, and I just lump it all together in the things that I'll show you in just a few minutes. So we started off with restorative circles. And as I mentioned earlier, we were one of 11 campuses in the district who was selected to participate in this particular initiative. And so we started off restorative with just community building circles. And so this is an example of one that you'll see on the screen. So all students are in a circle. I'll just give you some of the highlights of the components of the circle. Everyone is sitting at the same level. Everyone is facing each other. You can't tell who the principal is, although I'm looking, and so I know who the people are in the picture. If you just look at the aspect of the circle, we are all equal. There's not a leader, there's not an administrator, there's not a district administrator. It's just people surrounded in a circle. There's a centerpiece in the center of the circle. Those are just some of the aspects of the circle. But before we go that far, I need to tell you what a restorative circle is, right? A restorative circle is a technique that builds and restores relationships through equal opportunity of sharing and listening. These talking circles proactively build the skills individuals need when conflicts arise, because they give every individual an opportunity to speak and to be heard. So just think about that for a minute. There's conflict, there's a situation. Let's just say it's between two students. The power of the circle is you're able to get those students in this room, same room together. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily right after the fight. Let's just, not right after the fight. But what you were able to do is get them in the circle and they can actually talk about what was going on. These are the things and the conversations that actually happen when they get into our offices. When we get them one-on-one, we'll find out, why this student was upset, why that one is upset, how this one felt disrespected, how it led to the fight. But very rarely do we have that opportunity to put the two of them together. But when you have a circle, it's the two students. It could be your administrators, it could be your counselors, it could be some of their mentors, the teachers that they have a really good relationship with. That the circle grows. So you have more people in the circle, and then there's a structured conversation that you go through that gives everyone an opportunity to share about the situation. The structure is simple. It establishes equality in the room, and it does that very quickly. And these are great for conflict resolution. We haven't had an opportunity to participate in very many of those. Last year was the first rollout of the initiative, and we primarily focused on topics such as goal setting, success, what that feels like, respect. Um, I can't think of everything at this moment, but it was just those key topics that it was just good to have a discussion on. But as we move forward and as we evolve, we are definitely making sure. And this picture does show a circle pre-COVID. I do want to share that, so that's why you don't see masks and things like that. But it still can happen. I do want you to know that circle still can happen in the world that we live in now, virtually as well as face to face. So speaking of that, next picture. This was one morning right after intake. So what right after we've gotten students in to the building and they're headed, well, they were heading to class because we do have some students that ended up in the circle. And we just happened to realize that we were standing in the formation of a circle. It had become such, I mean, it's just a part of our daily talks and walks. And so we actually had a circle just right there in the middle of the floor. So you'll see our makeshift centerpiece, which was just a bucket that had the hand scanner and things like that. That's in the middle. And then we were celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. And so that's the sombrero in the middle as well. But that ended up being our centerpiece. And we went through several rounds of questioning for the circle, just random. It wasn't something that we planned. We just did it, but we knew the components. We knew the check-in question. We knew there were a couple of rounds of other questions, and then there was a closure. So an instant circle in the middle of the hallway. So next, I'm going to go into just how we do things at Hall. I like to say that Hall is one of the best kept secrets in the district. And I do think, I know I'm partial to this, but I do think once you visit, once you experience Hall, and even the students say so too, that it definitely is one of those best kept secrets. So the topics that I'll share was just, what does the beginning of the school year look like? How do we welcome staff back on campus? Ideas for staff appreciation, some different routines and procedures that we use for students during our morning intake process. Dr. Moore calls it the thinkery. I have a different name for it, but I am using his language today. He is our executive director of social emotional learning. Then staff and student and staff connections, and then just how we celebrate success. And that is one of our key features. And one of the things that I think I'm most proud of about Hall is celebrating student success, because many times students that come to us have not had that opportunity. There are oftentimes the students that are overlooked as far as that type of celebration, because they may not be the students that make all A's or on honor roll. So they haven't had that celebration. So we find other ways to to celebrate their success. So beginning of the school year, just think about it. Think about your campus, but then I'll also share how we welcome our staff back. So this was last year. So I have a mixture of things that happened previously, and then also in the safe COVID space that we're in. So this was last year. We partnered with our disciplinary alternative campus, and we shared our staff development. So we brought in a speaker, but that morning when staff members first came back, we celebrated. And they came down the red carpet with all the fanfare. We celebrated our success. We celebrated our improved student achievement as far as STAR is concerned. We celebrated, teachers who had excessive hours of staff development that they participated in over the summer. That was another highlight that we celebrated. We always start off with a theme. Last year's theme was respect. Respect stood for, I'm not going to say it right, but it stood for being responsible, engaged, service oriented, present, excellence. We celebrate excellence, being courteous, and also trustworthy. That is respect. And that went for students and staff. Many times I say both. I don't separate. There are times when I have to separate, and we do things strictly for what's in the best interest of our students. There are some times when I have to, as the leader, do things in terms of the staff. But for the most part, our conversation is the student and the staff, and there's no separation between the two. Meaning, when we're talking about respect, that respect is across the board. So if a teacher is having a bad day, has things going on, as we all do, we have things that go on in our personal life. And me as the leader, I know that they want me to kind of excuse some things because I know what they're going through. But at times when kids or students come to us with those same problems, although it may not be the same problem that we dealt with or things that we dealt with as we were growing up, they have the same they have the same lift, so to speak, in their challenges. So if I'm supposed to overlook for my staff, why don't we overlook for our students? It's respect. We've got to think of it both ways. And so that's how that conversation comes up, and how respect became one of those things we were heavily rooted in year before last, or last year. One of the things we used to do this when I was a counselor at Hall before coming back, but I wanted to bring the spirit of finding out where our students come from. So we took a bus tour around a portion of the district. We didn't make it around the entire district because it's huge, especially on the bus. Even though the bus was air conditioned, it was still a hot summer day in early August. But we did hit the majority of our areas just to kind of show staff members, most of them new, but if we had new staff members to join on, just where our students come from. And then also to think about the bus ride that they're taking to get to campus each morning. So that explains why sometimes they are not the most cheerful when they make it to us, because we do serve the entire district. So a student could be waiting at the bus and riding the bus, and it be an hour, hour and a half, almost 2 hours before they make it to us. Just imagine a 2-hour ride on a bus. Yeah. And then they come to school and we're ready for them to jump right into content and be ready to learn. Not so much. But anyway, we had that experience, and then I took them, the happy picture of me at the top is I took them to my favorite snow cones, my snow cone spot. So we had snow cones. That was just my little thing. So this year, of course, it looked a little different. We still had a theme. We are redesigning our campus. So we launched a new program with our overage 8th graders. And so our theme still staying with respect, but now it's respect the foundation, because this year is our foundational year of a new campus. And so the annual theme, foundation, we started thinking about construction. We do offer construction on our campus. So we have hard hats, and you can see myself at the top in the little picture of the Zoom window, and then also one of our construction teachers, he has on his construction hat too. Also, to make sure there's a connection, because many times there's a theme, you throw that theme out at the beginning of the year, and then it loses its steam. By this time, October, you don't remember what you talked about at the very beginning of the year. So what we did is we frame our language now based on our theme of respecting the foundation. And so I have a few of our little things. So, not just saying make sure you're at work on time. We're talking about construction terms. So clock in, make sure you clock in on time. With Zoom, since we're in the Zoom world, instead of turning your video cameras on, everybody says turn your video on. Can we see your faces? Turn your cameras on. Well, we say work lights on, because that is connected with construction. Use the proper radio channel is how we refer to using the chat box. Instead of saying mute your mics, because I know y'all are tired of hearing people say you're on mute, unmute, mute your mics. We say silence your radio. And then the last one is the big one. We refer to our professional learning community as our work crew, because that's who we are digging into our data with. That's who we're working on our instruction, improving those things. That's our work crew. So that's just how we welcome our staff back. The next one, and this is one that I'm most proud of, and I wish I could say I made this up myself, but I didn't. This is one of those ideas that I saw on Twitter, and I said, you know what? It's awesome. So in dealing with COVID, everyone has a different comfort level with it. Meaning you may yourself be in one of those high risk areas, or you're taking care of someone who's in a high risk area. So you are going to be to a T, wiping down with Clorox wipes. You're never going to be seen without your mask, all of that. That's a red. That's a person that's red. It's high, but I'm keeping my distance. But then you have yellow. Yellow is I'm okay with talking, but not touching, because we have some people who are a little bit more comfortable. Although, yes, we are wearing the mask and doing the protocols, but they're a little bit more comfortable and might be a little closer into your space. And then there's the green. They're okay with hugs, high fives, the whole nine, they're ready for it all, of course, but we're still wearing our mask. So each of us selected our level. And that way, that takes away that awkward conversation. You don't have to talk. Everybody can see instantly. And I wear red. I don't take mine off. But not red in a sense where I can't be human and love on my students and staff, because I do. I absolutely, it's not, oh, stay away from me completely. It's not that. It's just, I need you to know that there's someone very close to me and my family that I have to go home to every day that I can't take any chances with. But I don't have to have a conversation. I don't have to go through the guilt or, feel chastised by doing that. I can just show you my band and you already know. So that's our respect the HSA contact comfort level. So what about staff appreciation? What are you currently doing to encourage positive staff connections? Let's be honest, our work, especially now, is very difficult. It's very difficult. And although you may not be the type person that has to have someone saying, good job, keep it up, I saw what you were, you may not be that person that has to have that, but we all need it, especially now, because once again, and I'll say this once again, the work that we're doing right now is extremely hard. So these are different things that we do to celebrate our staff. We celebrate all of the national days, national weeks, months. We celebrate all of that. So this is the first picture is our head custodian, where we actually involve the student. The student is the one who gave her the gift on behalf of the staff and students for making sure that everything that we need is taken care of and our buildings are kept clean. At the top right, that was on our day right before the Christmas holidays, not last year, year before last, where, yes, teachers are working on getting their grades in, but we're kind of moving into the holiday spirit. So our art teacher led us through a painting experience. And so we all painted our snowmen. And so, very respectful as far as culture and things of that nature. We all had snowmen and we used our own personality. They started the same way. You see most of them have the carrots as noses and things. And then there's another picture, if you look real closely, I don't know, that's an interesting looking snowman. But anyway, we had an opportunity to just bond and get together with painting. And then just recently we celebrated the Hispanic Heritage Month, and I was nicely adorned in that lovely pink dress. But it's just a great way to bond and connect with each other. And it's amazing to see when teachers aren't able to participate, how disappointed they are. Like if they don't have the jersey or whatever that item is that they're supposed to be wearing and they don't have it, it's like, oh man, I don't have it. But that's a bonding idea. So last year also we had a fundraiser, one of our fundraisers at Willie G's. I'm not saying it right, but that was a well-attended event. The majority of our staff actually came through, but look at the smiles. This is not us talking about work, not us talking about student troubles. It's a fundraiser, raising money for our campus so we can do the celebrations, but then it's just all of us being together, having a good time. If I notice that the spirit is dropped just a little bit or things are tough, like when we have all the deadlines and we have to do all of that, I'm so random, and I know my bookkeeper can't stand it, but this was a day I just ran down to McDonald's. I said, hey, I'm going to get sundaes for everybody. Beauty of a small campus. But we were able to get sundaes for everyone and just roll it down the hallway and share. And earlier this year, we had popcorn. We were popping into a new school year, and so we had popcorn. And so just a little note is staff relationships need to be nurtured. And so, just always think about how can you intentionally make sure this is happening on your campus. And it has to be intentional. I haven't done it as well this year as I did last year, just because it's a different world and my calendar no longer is a paper calendar. It's now a Google Calendar for Zoom links. But I would actually look through the calendar and indicate what days we're doing something for the staff. I may not know what it is, but it's time for recognition. It's time for appreciation. It's time for just a little boost. Because once again, and I've said it several times, our work is hard, and I acknowledge that. So routines and procedures. I think this is one of my favorite parts of the presentation. They're all favorites, but this one is really something to think about. So think about how your students are greeted each morning. For the most part, it looks like this. And I know it does. we are in the day and age where we have to have this type of routine and procedure with our campuses, and we need to come through the metal detector. And typically, when we come through that metal detector, it's all routine, it's all procedural. Like there's no personalization in it. It's, let me check your bag. You don't have a clear see-through bag. You're out of dress code. You go instantly into that punitive part, kind of, which I understand, and we have to do that. You have to have those guidelines in place. Ours looks a little different. So before you come through the metal detector, you're greeted by our these two lovely ladies. One is the skill specialist for English. The other is skill specialist for science. They are our SAM station. So what's a SAM station? I know you can see everything else on the slide, but what's a SAM station? Think about when you go into Sam's, you go into Walmart, you have a greeter. There's someone there to just, you may have just had an incident where you were racing somebody for a parking space. And that was not a pleasant experience. Well, you don't roll that into your true shopping experience. So there's a greeter. So these are our daily morning greeters, and they welcome students and staff because staff members come through that same door as well sometimes. But each morning they speak, they affirm, they find something to compliment the student about to boost up their self-esteem, and then they motivate them. So that could be a verbal motivation. That could be candy. Sometimes we have candy. A lot of times that has to do with music, and the playlist changes from day to day, week to week. Changes based on the staff member that's come in. We have like broken out into an all-out dance session before with a teacher because it was his song. And so it was his moment, and he did what he did. But that is just how our students come through every morning. Our SAM station greeters are able to pick up. They're there every day. So they rotate. One is there one day, one is there the next day. But they are there on a regular basis, so they know our kids and they know the demeanor of the students. So if they come in and you could tell someone is having a bad day, they're off, they know it. They know it before they get to the metal detector. In some cases, they have found out a student was out of dress code, but when they took them over to the side, they found out that the student was out of dress code because they didn't stay at home last night. They didn't have any clothes. They didn't have any other choice, but they came to school. But if we didn't have that SAM station to find that out before they get through the metal detector, we just added an entire level of stress on top of the stress that young lady was already dealing with. So that has been truly one of the best things that we implemented. And we did that right along with that restorative practices implementation with the circle and the SAM station. So this is the thinkery. Are you using every classroom? Now, yes, I'm sure we're using all our classrooms because we need to have as few students as possible in class. So we're using all kind of things to make a classroom. But if you have a classroom or an office that's empty, why not think of a thinkery? Ours is called the chill space. So you saw this is where we have our circles. We have circles in there. But when there's not a circle going on, we also have meetings. So we use our room for several different things. We do use it for leadership team meetings and things like that too. But it's also a room where students can go when they just need to refocus. What I love about the chill space and what it has done for our campus is there are situations that have been stopped because we had this space. And we didn't have to go into a disciplinary mindset and do punishment consequences and things of that nature because we had our chill space or thinkery where they could regroup. They may have gotten a phone call, something totally didn't have anything to do with school at all, but it completely messed their mind up. They're able to go back into this chill space, and you'll see the side pictures. I have different things in the room. So there's a puzzle area, there's a coloring book area, there's the mirror. One of our teachers is enjoying the mirror at the top. The affirmations are all around the mirror. So it's a place where they actually are able to sit down. And this was powerful too. We had a young man, big, tall young man who had a negative image of himself. And so we were able to put him in front of the mirror and process what he sees when he sees himself in the mirror. And it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. But we were able to work through some of those things, when he was dealing with the situation. Also in the little bucket in the middle we have different stress relievers. So stress balls, fuzzies, the flexies, the bendable things, all of those things are in there. We've had students who have come just needing to check out a stress ball and they go back to class. So just think about if you have any space that's empty on your campus. This is a wonderful idea. And even we've also used it, even though we have just a few students on campus now with COVID, most of them are learning at home. We've had to use it already twice within the past week. So definitely think of that idea. Now I'll show you where I got that. One of my classmates has a it's a restoration room, I believe is what he calls it, in Dallas. And so this is where I first got the idea from. So things that you just have to think about. Well, number one, what are you going to use your chill space for? Is it going to be strictly for students, or are you going to make it multi-purposeful, which our room is? So if that's the case, do you have furniture already available? Are you going to have to try to get furniture? Who can help you design it? Do you need to get some donations for some items? How will the students access the room? For our campus, they typically go through either myself, our counselor, or intervention specialist, and we'll just sit with them. There have been occasions where, maybe they've been in there by themselves, not for long, just a few minutes while we notify each other what's going on. And it doesn't take away from their day because we don't keep them in there. They're not in a chill space all day, not at all, just a little while, and they go right back into class and they're able to regroup and refocus. And yes, we have had staff members that have had to access the chill space as well. So it serves a great purpose. One of the other things that is under our restorative practices arena too is how we do our classroom rules. So, typically, speak when spoken to, raise your hand, ask for permission, all those things. Those are your classroom rules. What we did is we created respect agreements. So we had an opportunity where our students got together and our students shared, what does student respecting the student look like? What does a student respecting a teacher look like? Teacher respecting the student and students respecting the classroom. They were able to set up their own respect agreement, not rules, respect agreement that they use in their classrooms. So that was very big. And then if someone is not, minding the agreement, you just redirect them. Well, don't forget, at the beginning of the school year, beginning of the term, we established what our respect agreement was for this class. Maybe you need to revisit the respect agreements. So it's a positive way. It's not just saying, oh, you've broken the rule, consequence, you're going to have a day of sack. No, let's talk about these agreements. That's that relationship piece that we're talking about. Okay. This is another quote. Great teachers focus not on compliance, but on connections and relationships. Last year, one of our activities, because we're a small campus and you just have to be creative there, it could be done in a larger campus. Because I know some of these things, everybody is like, oh, well, y'all only have, 26 teachers or 181, but you have to think about the concept. Think about what we're trying to do on our campus. And now how can you implement that even if it's serving a larger number of students? So this was in our PLC room. We took pictures. These are our students' ID pictures. We put them on, blew them up on posters, laminated, what have you. And throughout the day, each PLC came through and they took a sticky note and wrote something that they knew about that student. Didn't have to be related to academics. It's just, what do you know about this student? And put it on the wall. For the most part, we knew something about every single student on our campus. But what it also showed us is those students that didn't have a sticky note by their name, we needed to get to know them real quickly. And that's what we ended up doing. So this was just about how do you go forward and build that connection and relationship. And it has to be intentional in some cases. And this was an intentional effort because we needed a visual to see who we needed to connect with. You always know your bad kids. You always know your bright, shining stars. But what about those kids just in the middle? The quiet ones that come in, they're going to do what they need you to do. No back talk, no anything. Do you know those students? This was how we found out who they were. So speaking of student and staff connections, and this one was real personal for me. When Dr. Moore came on board last year, he walked our campus. And one of the reflections that he had is he saw that the staff members had interaction with each other during transition. And it was, through our circles and things that connected us, we're looking at what we need to do to connect the students, but the circles truly started connecting us as well. So we started having conversations that we didn't normally have. And I was excited. I will share, just like I shared once before with another conversation. I was excited. I was like, the fact that we're talking to each other, hey, we're good. We're doing it. But he said, what about the students? Y'all aren't talking to the students. And it hurt because I started looking and I was like, you have a point. I'd look down the hallway and I'd see our gym teacher, construction teacher, and I'm not going to call out people, but you'd see others talking to each other. Good conversations, good positive conversations, conversations that needed to be held. But then you didn't have those conversations going on with students. We put it out there, let the staff know, immediately changed. Immediately, because we just needed that to be brought to our attention. So what it ended up turning into being was at times there were students who were late to class. And so, of course, tardies are an issue, but they were late because they were so busy in conversations with their teachers. And those conversations led to additional conversations and follow up. So you can't be mad at a student because he's sharing with his teacher, success that he's experiencing at home or whatever the case may be. So these are just pictures of different ways that we connect. And I apologize for the sound if it got a little noisy. I have furniture being delivered at this moment.
Dr. Strahan, 9-minute warning.
Okay, perfect. So I'll go real quickly. So these are just pictures, and the majority of this is just pictures. It just shows different ways that we connect. Very excited about our We Win Wednesdays. During lunch, we roll out a cart with games. Connect Four, Uno, dominoes once. Dominoes, that can get kind of loud, but we've had dominoes once. Just regular card games, and then Jenga. So this was We Win Wednesdays, another way to connect. So what happened is for students to connect with one another, and that was transformational because you would see different groups of students connecting that you wouldn't normally see. But then also from time to time, our teachers would participate with students as well during lunch. And then the next one, the last part just goes into how do you celebrate student success? At Hall, we celebrate everything. Everything. We figure out ways to celebrate students to make sure everyone is included. So we highlight perfect attendance, but the way we highlight perfect attendance and also course completions is every 3 weeks. Sometimes we need to shorten those goals. Our kids may not have perfect attendance for the whole year. They have families that they're taking care of. They have to work, things of that nature, for especially the ones that are a little older. So we celebrate perfect attendance every 3 weeks. Not this year because attendance is something different, but in the past, it would be every 3 weeks. Course completions through Edgenuity, we celebrate those as soon as students complete those classes. We recognize birthdays, reclassifications. Again, we celebrate everything. These are just some more examples. Typically, it's with a certificate, and then we do Strahan on Wheels, which is the picture in the middle where the students have the certificates, but then there's a bucket of snacks. That's a bucket that I usually roll around on my cart, and students know, Strahan on Wheels, because I'm looking for scholars. And even now, we still do celebrations. We have done home visits where we go and celebrate the students at their homes. We did do our graduation pickup where we set up a background and everything and invited the kids to wear their cap and gown, or we had a cap and gown and provided for them to take their pictures. Now through the virtual space, we use Remind. I use Canva and I use Remind all the time. And I mentioned Canva because I saw a comment in a group earlier where they didn't know quite about it. So now that a lot of your presence is virtual, you have to have like nice cutesy type things like design or what have you. So we use Canva to do that. So this flyer at the bottom, that's what that is. That was done through Canva. It was just an announcement that I sent to students to remind them about working to earn their credit. The other thing too with our Remind, as students are finishing their classes, now I have them choose a GIF, and I send out their shout out, call them out by name, completed a class, and then I use the GIF that they selected. And it's very interesting to hear their feedback on which GIFs they want to use. So Bart Simpson was one that somebody threw out one day, and I was like, y'all watch Bart Simpson? That's back in the day. But anyway, just giving them a say-so in how they want to be celebrated in front of their peers. So just to wrap up, I never said that it'd be easy. I only said that it'd be worth it. So you just may have to spend a little time to figure out how you can do these things on your campus. Be intentional, commit to it. It has to be up there just like everything else as far as duty, deadlines, responsibilities that you have, celebrating your students and staff. That needs to be at the top as well. So just to give you my contact information one more time, I am in Aldine, MD Strahan at aldineisd.org. You can follow me on Twitter, Marcie Strahan on Twitter, or you can follow our campus Twitter page as well. So at this time, I will turn it back over to our co-host.
Thank
Awesome
you so
job.
much, Dr. Strahan. That was so great. I cannot tell you how many comments you got. You had no questions because you literally cleared up everything.
And I am so inspired right now. I love the ideas that you're doing with your staff and your students. That's
Absolutely.
great. So great. Okay,
Thank
if
you.
there are no questions, it has been a great day of learning for TCCA today. Like we said, 10th anniversary. We're looking forward to next year. So the super secret password, like I said, I feel like I'm on a game show giving out the super secret password. This one is very fitting. It is success. Hopefully we have set you up for success for
Yeah.
the remainder of this school year, whatever that may be like. And after this session, I could not think of a more fitting secret password, because what they're doing at Hall has got to be successful. Every idea that you had, I thought was just brilliant. So it's
Thank you.
great. All right. So we hope to see everyone soon, virtually or in person, before next year's TCCA. So if there are no more questions, we will end our day. Brooke, is there anything coming in? I see the comments are starting to blow up on us.
I mean, they're just saying, love it. The best boss lady ever. And I couldn't agree more.
Great.
Excellent presentation. Excited to get started. Great job. I mean, what a way to end our day.
I know, it's great. I feel so pumped. So thank you so much, Dr. Strahan. You have enlightened me, and I'm ready for Monday. Bring it on.
I love it.
All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.